Okay, so in the previous video we looked at how do you break down the question. How do you bug it? How do you box the command words, underline and understand that key information they're asking you to do, and then glance over it to get your head around it, to kind of plan out what you want to talk about before you start drafting your essay. Now, the introduction is where most people start, because obviously it starts off your essay. But it's also a good way to make sure that you're covering all the necessary material to answer the question. Some people make the mistake of putting way too much in the introduction. They'll go into a great length of detail into the texts. They might even tell you a little bit about some of the texts and what happens in them. But really, you only need to cover the real important information when you get to the introduction. Now, because this is a media studies question on genre, you obviously have to state the genre. You need to make sure you state what the two characteristics are that you're going to be looking at. That you state that there has been a change, because the question obviously already indicates that it has been a change, it's developed over time. And then finally, you need to kind of state which text you're going to be using as in your essay for that evidence that's required to be able to not only meet the criteria but to support your points. So again, it doesn't have to be overly complicated. It's simply a matter of going in and kind of going through each of those checklist points. So you might just start with saying, U.S. television sitcoms is an easily recognized media genre Sitcom stand for situational comedies and have very recognizable characteristics that distinguish it from other genres. So right off the bat, I can go ahead and strike that out. I've gone ahead and I've stated the introduction. In my introduction, I've stated the genre. So I'm going to state two significant characteristics. And this is where I go back to looking at the question and incorporating that in there. I say two significant characteristics in U.S. television sitcoms are, and now if we go back to the planning points, ensemble casts and romantic narratives. Before I continue on, I've gone ahead and I've simply just gone ahead and stated it. I can strike that out now too. These two characteristics have developed and changed over time. Again, I'm not trying to overcomplicate it. We can see the change in ensemble casts and romantic narratives through an examination of the following sitcoms. And this is where I put Cheers, Friends, That 70s Show, and The Big Bang Theory. Now really, that's it. That's all that's required in your introduction. It doesn't need to be any more complicated than that. You don't need to necessarily go into a history of the genre. You don't need to tell us where sitcoms developed or started. You just need to make sure you've covered everything that's included in the question. So if I highlighted these and I said, okay, we want to state the genre. Have we done that? Yeah, we have. So U.S. television sitcoms. We've done that a couple of times, just to make sure that it's entirely clear specifically what kind of sitcoms we're looking at. have we gone ahead and stated the characteristics? Sure we have. We've said 2 significant characteristics are then again reiterated here, ensemble casts and romantic narratives. We've gone ahead and repeated those same phrases here again when we've talked about the examples. Do we state that there's been a change in the genre and that it's developed over time? Of course we do, because that was part of the question, the second part. That's what we're going to be talking about in our essay. So we want to make sure we've covered that as well. And finally, have we talked about which texts we are going to cover as we write our essay? And that, of course, comes here at the very end. We talk about Cheers, Friends, The 70s Show, and Big Bang Theory. So that didn't take us more than about 5 minutes to write, but by just going back and making a point form list of the things we need to make sure we include, we've now set our essay up, and we've made sure that the examiner knows that we understand the question.